Welcome to TNBS Presents, the podcast, Ep.4. I'm your host, Tommy, aka Millsy. And on this episode, we're going to talk a bit about the GGG Canelo fight. I'm going to talk a little bit about Pat Mahomes and Josh Gordon. And I want to talk a little bit about perception in sports. After this weekend, and I'll explain a little more after I talk about the GGG Canelo fight, but I really started to pay attention, I guess, to perception in sports and how it differs by person, obviously. But the main thing, I guess it's more so the most prominent in boxing, because I was talking to Nick about this after the fight, and was saying, he brought up a good point that everybody values certain things differently. So, for example, in the fight, I'll just jump right into it. In the GGG Canelo fight, Canelo went to the body ruthlessly for the first 6-7 rounds and absolutely destroyed GGG to the body. And, there's going to be people who put more emphasis on body shots than they are jabs. There's going to be people who put more emphasis on the power punches than they do the power punches to the head than they do body punches. So it's like there's so much perception involved in sports and perception involved with individual players. Like, for example, with scouting, you're scouting a MLB player. Think about Derek Jeter. How many teams passed on Derek Jeter? It turned out to be one of the best shortstops of all time. How many teams passed on Mike Trout before the Angels took him? So the perception is very big in sports, and trying to envision what somebody's going to be or what somebody's going to do is a very difficult thing to do. Obviously, if it wasn't, everybody would go bet on sports and be millionaires. But it's just, it was really intriguing to me. And I really thought about it and noticed it this weekend after the fight. But I'm going to hop right into the fight. I don't think the decision was bad. Canelo winning. I think that's fair. I had GGG winning. And no, it's not because he did damage or because he landed two bigger shots than Canelo did. No. I thought GGG controlled the fight. Now, I know a lot of people say Canelo did. I'm not claiming to be a pro boxer that's been in the ring with somebody at Canelo's caliber or anything like that. And I can only speak on what I see and what I saw and what stuck out to me. And what really stuck out to me in this fight was GGG and his boxing ability. He hasn't been tested like this against a fighter like Canelo. Yes, the Danny Jacobs fight was probably his next best thing in terms of a high caliber fighter that he's fought. And he came into the first fight and he was walking Canelo down. That was obviously the big sticking point to everybody who thought GGG won the first fight. Oh, well, he was walking Canelo down. He was the aggressor. He was doing this. He was doing that. Canelo was running from him. Then when we got to this fight, people who thought Canelo won were saying, not everybody, but a lot of people were saying, oh, well, GGG was running the whole night. GGG wasn't running. There's a difference between running and backing up. Yes, GGG absolutely was backing up in this fight. I think Canelo's punches had more of an effect on him in this fight. I think the punches to the body and the work to the body is what really did GGG in. And there's a couple points in the fight where you can see GGG, after he gets hit with a body shot, immediately start backing up and clench his hands real tight to his body, a sign that he got rocked to the body. And people think that when someone's hurt in boxing, it's only they wobble or they almost go down or they stagger or something like that. When you get hit to the body, you don't stagger because it's not it's not affecting your brain, obviously, so it's not sending the waves down to the rest of your body, to your legs, so you can't stand and whatnot. When you get hit to the body, it takes the air out of you. It's really hard to explain unless you've been punched in the body really hard, the best way is it takes the life out of you. It takes your legs away. It takes your energy away. Obviously all that comes back, but for those couple seconds, it saps everything you have. It takes your air away, your breath away. Breathing is painful, and I think that happened. Well, I saw that happen a couple times to Triple G in this fight. So going back to perception to bring in with the decision, again, the judges, the perception of Triple G coming into the fight was that he's the aggressor. He's the one that walked Canelo down. He's the one that's the big puncher. He's the one that's going to be throwing the whole night, which he did, and he was. He was punching the whole night. He threw 200 more punches than Canelo, I believe. So, that wasn't the issue. And even when he was backing up on his back foot, he wasn't running. He was punching off of his back foot, which is something that Canelo wasn't doing in the first fight. We didn't see Canelo punch off his back foot. We saw Canelo, he was counter-punching. So when he would get to the ropes or after Triple G would throw his combination, then we would see Canelo punch. We wouldn't see Canelo trying to dictate the pace of the fight still or try to do anything. The amount of jabs he threw, Triple G threw something like 100 more jabs in the first fight. So, with Triple G expected to come forward like he did in the first fight the whole time. And as soon as that doesn't happen, that automatically is a win for Canelo. Because Triple G was calling him out, and his camp was calling him, and his corner was calling him out. You ran the whole first fight, stand there and fight me in the middle. Stand there and trade with me. Which Canelo obliged. Canelo was more than happy to do it. There were a couple points where, Canelo's standing there trading with Triple G. Triple G backs up and Canelo, does one of these, like, what are you doing? So Canelo was ready, and Canelo was ready to fight Mexican style, which he did. So the perception comes in with boxing, in this fight in particular, it was big because did you put the value on the body punches or did you put the value on the jabs? Did you put the value on somebody who was backing up and was able to still fight off their back foot and try to control the pace of the fight and control ring generalship? And like, what do you think? Like, what if that is most important to you? And that's going to differ by person. So I don't have any problems with the scoring. Like I said, I had Triple G winning. I thought Triple G won. Me and Nick are going to do a rewatch where we watch it together and break it down round by round and kind of talk about what we see. Because he's on the other side. He agrees with the decision and thought Canelo won. So I don't even want to try to make him see things from my perspective. He doesn't want to try to make me see things from his perspective. We just are going to watch and tell each other what we see so that other person can try to see the same thing. I'm not trying to change his mind. He's not trying to change mine. We just want to see what the other person sees because I understand some of the Canelo winning. I understand it to an extent because of the body shots. But when it comes to Canelo walked him down. Well, if that was the case, then why didn't Triple G win the first fight? Because all he did was walk Canelo down and walked him down a lot more than Canelo had to do to Triple G in this fight. There's a big difference between taking 2 steps back and throwing a jab off those 2 steps than there is, taking 3-4 steps backwards to the ropes and not throwing anything, just keeping your hands up. But so we're going to do a rewatch and kind of see what each other sees. But so everybody puts value on different things. Like for me, jabs vary by the fighter. So, for example, someone like Triple G who has a very, very, very good jab, I'm going to, when he throws that jab and he has success with that jab, which he did in this fight, a lot of success in this fight with the jab. He constantly, every time he threw the jab, Canelo's head was snapping back. So they weren't just little pitter-patter shots. He was still throwing them. We'll call them power jabs. So you have somebody like that who a jab is part of their arsenal. It's a big part of their offense. It's a big part of their style of fighting. Whereas Canelo's a good jabber, but as we've seen in their 2 fights and we've seen in his fights in the past, Canelo doesn't jab at the same rate that Triple G does. Canelo doesn't throw the same amount of punches that Triple G does. So like that's where the perception comes in of what you value more, what you put, where you place the value on, and that's the perception part that was pretty big to me this week. That really kind of popped out to me this weekend with this fight. It's not something that I'd really thought about in sports before. But another thing about Triple G that I thought Canelo really struggled with was the uppercut and the straight punches, as I mentioned, the jabs. But the times where people thought that Triple G hurt Canelo was on the uppercuts. I think it was with 7 seconds left in the 12th round, Triple G landed a huge shot on Canelo, and I'm about 95% sure that was an uppercut. Earlier in the fight, I don't remember which round, but Triple G, again, it's one of the times people were saying that Triple G had Canelo hurt. He didn't have him hurt. He had him off balance, or he got hit hard and he caught his attention, but he didn't hurt him. Canelo didn't almost go down at this point, but Triple G landed another big uppercut. Triple G was landing straight punches and uppercuts all night long, which not that he didn't go away from it. I just don't think that he threw enough uppercuts throughout the fight. But that's just neither here nor there. The big problem that Triple G didn't do was exactly like I had said in the preview for the second fight, up on the nosebleed section, or the nosebleed, www.thenosebleedsec.com, the Triple G versus Canelo 2, or Triple G, preview. So I had mentioned that Gennady needs to go to the body more. He can't land 8 body shots in a 12-round fight and expect to win. What does he do? He goes out and lands 6 body shots. Again, you can't do that and go out to win and expect to win, because at that point you're not fighting a complete fight. There's one aspect that you're leaving out of the fight, and that's going to stick out to the judges, especially when the guy you're fighting is ripping you to the body and landing some vicious body shots on you. That's going to stand out in the judges' eyes. So this is why I have no problem with the Canelo decision. I think that he did a lot more going to the body. That's going to stand out to judges. He ran in the first fight, and stark contrast in this fight came forward the whole time. So that's in the judge's mind when they see that. While I don't think that should factor in as much as people are making it sound, because if that's the case, why didn't Triple G win the first fight? Triple G was by far the more aggressive fighter, landed more punches. I'm not going to say I don't like the whole damage talk and who did more damage to each other. Oh, look at Triple G's face, look at Canelo's face, go look at Arturo Gatti after he knocked out Wilson Rodriguez. Go look at Mickey Ward's face after the first fight between him and Arturo Gatti. So just look at Gotti's face after any of his victories. Look at Mickey Ward's face after his victories. You can't go by what somebody looks like after a victory. That's not a measuring stick. The only thing that I count is if somebody's not known as being cut and they get cut by a punch, that carries weight for me. So like the fact that Triple G got cut, yes, granted it was late in the 11th or 12th when it actually split. That's a big deal to me that Canelo was able to do that. We've never seen Gennady cut. We've never seen someone bruise Gennady the way that Canelo did. So, but even with that, everybody bruises different. Everybody cuts different. Everybody's skin is different. So like, I don't count quote unquote damage when I'm scoring, unless it's something that's something that happened to them that they're not known for. Like I mentioned, Canelo cutting Triple G. Triple G is not known for being cut. That's a big deal. The big thing that I took out of this fight, not from the fighters, but in terms of like, we'll say Vegas and the promotions and all that, was they wanted to make sure there was no chance at scrutiny or conspiracy theories or anything like that. Now, obviously there still are, but they let Triple G and Abel Sanchez have a say in the judges, have a say in the referee. Now, not pick the judges per se, but pick a pool of judges. I think it was Feldman and Moretti did Triple G's last fight against Jacobs, I believe, or one of them was a judge in his fight against Jacobs. So they were, if you listen to interviews from Gennady and mostly from Abel Sanchez, there's nothing like that. They're not complaining about that. They're not complaining about Canelo. They're not complaining about anything being wrong in terms of the scoring. They do bring up a good point, though, that Triple G actually brought this up, that he's like, and this is why I thought he looked defeated after the fight, was because he knew he couldn't let this go to the cards. I'm not saying that it's a conspiracy theory. I'm not saying it's a thing. But it is something to think about. Canelo has never lost a decision in Vegas except for the Mayweather fight. So, I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. It's just naturally people are gonna think about it and point to that. Gennady obviously thinks that there's something to that because he felt he was up in the fight enough that's why that 12th round he didn't fight too hard. Abel Sanchez told him he needed the 12th to win, and Gennady felt otherwise, that he had it in the bag per se and didn't do as much as he needed to. I also think that had to do with the effect of the body punches from Canelo at this point. Got to remember, he's 36 years old. So a 36-year-old who's been fighting for, as long as Gennady has, and taking the wear and tear on your body, that naturally you're gonna be tired at that point. So the fact that he was even able to do as well as he did in that round, it was pretty remarkable considering his age. And yes, I understand they work hard and train hard and all that, but still, 36 years old, stepping in the ring with a 28-year-old who's in the prime of his career, and not only going the distance, but arguably winning the fight. So I'm not saying there's something to him being upset about or thinking that Canelo can't lose a fight in Vegas and there's something behind that. He just said after the fight in one of his interviews that he said I won't fight in Vegas again, or my next fight won't be in Vegas. So he obviously feels that there's something to that. His promoter Tom Loeffler also brought it up and mentioned it, which is why Oscar De La Hoya, or part of the reason why Oscar De La Hoya released an open letter to fans, which I think is the worst possible thing he can do, which in my eyes actually makes things a little sketchy now. Not the fight, not the decision, but it just makes me think a bit like, well, why are you even acknowledging this? First of all, you're a promoter. Second of all, the letter was just pretty much you telling people that they should respect Canelo, and which they should, but that they should be happy with his victory. And not that he put Gennady down in any way in the letter, but it was all talking up Canelo and talking up the fight. All he did was say about Gennady was that he was a true champion, or he was a great champion, and that Canelo took it to the boogeyman of boxing. So that letter to me was just a little sketchy, unnecessary, and did raise some question as to like, wait, why would you even release this? But getting back to the fight, I thought Triple G boxed really well in this fight. I thought he made a lot of Canelo's punches miss, especially early on. Canelo was swinging kind of wild early on, which continued throughout the fight at points. So I thought Triple G showed something we had never seen, and I thought in this fight, honestly, that he outboxed Canelo. Now, Canelo fought the more complete fight in terms of going to the body, working the jab, going to the head, solid defense. But even though Canelo, in my opinion, was the more complete fighter, Triple G boxed better. Triple G had the better defense. Every time he'd throw a punch, he was in position to defend it. He did struggle with defending shots to the body. He didn't throw enough to the body, which is why I say that Canelo fought the more complete fight, but Triple G was the better boxer in this fight. The way he used his jab, his movements, his defensive positioning. So I was actually impressed with Triple G's performance from that perspective. I know I haven't talked too much about, what Canelo did do and what he didn't do, but I mean, there really isn't much to talk about with Canelo besides him coming forward and being the aggressor, backing up what he said he was going to do, and working the body. I mean, he did, his body work was picturesque. The power shots, he actually outlanded Triple G in terms of power shots. So like, Canelo did everything he said he was going to do, and ultimately panned out in his favor. And I can't look. A robbery was the first fight between Timothy Bradley and Manny Pacquiao, where Timothy Bradley won. A real robbery was Jeff Horn over Manny Pacquiao. People, those are robberies. This fight was not a robbery. Triple G did not blatantly win this fight. He left doubt in people's minds, and he fell victim to his own success because he's knocked people out in such crazy fashion and won fights in such dramatic fashion and powerful fashion that we're used to seeing that. And when that doesn't happen, and when we see somebody standing up to that and being able to take that, that automatically is, oh, well, so-and-so, he's losing it. He's old. His powers, he doesn't have the same power. He doesn't have this. How about Canelo's just a great fucking fighter? Why not just tip the cap to Canelo? Why do we have to say it's Triple G's doing this or Triple G's, failing in this area or this? He's never fought a fighter the caliber of Canelo. Danny Jacobs was the closest, and Danny Jacobs is a very, very good fighter, but I don't think Danny Jacobs is on the level of Canelo. So I think, people need to look at too that they were surrounded. I mean, this fight, or these two fights between the two of them, was separated by one round on two judges' scorecards. The Adelaide Bird scorecard, just throw that out. That's not real, and I think that's in the back of a lot of people's minds as to why they say the scorecard was fixed or the judges were paid off, and then, Oscar De La Hoya even mentioning that in his open letter, saying that there was no Adelaide Bird, or there was no scorecard like Adelaide Birds that to cause controversy. So like, he even acknowledged it. So to me, I don't have any issue with this fight scoring. I don't think it was being paid off. I don't think it was anything like that at all. I think it was just the judges genuinely saw Canelo as the victor, which there are things where that could happen. Or where you could see it that way. So I'm not going to badmouth the people who think Canelo won. I'm not going to badmouth the people who think Triple G won. I think we just need to acknowledge the greatness we saw on Saturday night and be happy with that we got that good of a fight from these people. From Triple G and Canelo, and that they said what they said they were going to do. They stood there and they fought. I don't count Triple G's one step backward or two step backwards here and there as him running. That's boxing. People aren't going to stand toe to toe in the middle of the ring and not move and just swing on each other. That's not boxing. So, with that being said, I want to tip my cap to Triple G, and I want to tip my cap to Canelo. Both of them, great fights, great fighters. I hope to see a third one. Like I was saying, there's one round that separated two fights on two judges' scorecards as to why Canelo won. So it's these two fights have been that close. So I do think we'll see a third. I just think it'll be a little bit down the road a little. Week 2, 60-second timeout. 34 is more than 23. The Bengals beat the Ravens. Matt Ryan rushes the Falcons over Panthers. Redskins kicked out of the Hilton in Washington. Really, Houston? Blaine Gabbert and his 117 yards beat you? Whoa, Fitzmagic. Bucks 2-0. Pat Mahomes just threw another touchdown in Pittsburgh. 2 more picks for Darnold. Not snakes on a plane. The Dolphins bring the Jets down. The Bills suck. Daniel Carlson kicks the Vikings out of a win and into a tie. Hello, Dan Bailey. Saints sneak by the Browns at home. Jimmy G and the 49ers beat House Lannister in San Francisco. Sam Bradford threw for less than 100 yards, and they got shut out. Miles Jack wasn't down. The ball don't lie. The Raiders, still the Raiders. Eric Flowers helps the Cowboys beat the Giants. Khalil Mack is really good and fun to watch, unless you're a Seahawks fan. Next up, I want to talk about Pat Mahomes and this incredible run he's gotten the season off to. Now, obviously, it's not sustainable. He's not going to throw, on average 5 touchdowns a game. That's not going to happen. But I was high on him coming out of Texas Tech, not because of the gaudy numbers or anything like that. I understand that they run a crazy pass attack offense. They're attacking through the air nonstop, putting up 50, 60 points a week. I understand that, and I understand that's not fair to expect or reasonable to expect that at the NFL level. But there's something about him that stood out to me. I mean, he's got all the talent in the world in every aspect that you look for in a quarterback. He can make plays from the pocket. He can make plays with his feet. He can extend plays with his feet. He could take off and run. Not many people. There aren't many people in the NFL at the quarterback position that could lead the league in both rushing for running backs and passing yards for running backs. A couple names that come to mind: maybe Cam Newton, Deshaun Watson. Who I was actually higher on Mahomes coming out than I was on Watson. I thought Watson would be a solid pro. I thought he would be good. I didn't dislike Watson in any way. I just thought Mahomes was that good coming out. The reads that he makes, he'll trust his arm too much at times, which is a knock on him. I mean, we haven't seen that so far. We haven't. He hasn't had to do that yet. He hasn't been in a position where he's had to fit the ball in a tight window in a pressure situation. Or make a big play in a pressure situation. We haven't seen that from him yet, but he's given us no reason to think that when that time comes that he won't produce, because he is such a high IQ player. He is very smart. He doesn't he doesn't look like a rookie right now. Which he is still a rookie. He's played in one NFL game. To me, Deshaun Watson's still a rookie. Mitch Trubisky's still a rookie. Pat Mahomes is a rookie. Just because you've been in the league for a year now that adds invaluable experience that you gain. But you don't. Well, you gain that experience, but unless you're playing the entire season, you don't gain that in-game on-field experience about, like I mentioned, those pressure situations, the 2-minute drills. Getting the ball, in a short field in the red zone, understanding that you have to get points out of that possession. You don't necessarily need a touchdown, but we need points in that possession. That's all the kind of stuff that you learn from playing in the games and not sitting on the bench. So to me, all of them are still rookie quarterbacks until they've played in 16 games. I don't think it's even fair to say this at this point, but I do expect, obviously, Mahomes to be the best of rookie quarterbacks from this year, rookie quarterbacks from last year. That's no knock on the other ones. I think Sam Darnold is going to be great, and that's not just because I'm a Jets fan. He's actually a very good quarterback who just needs to work on ball security. Same thing, like Mahomes, he tends to rely on his arm too much at times, and his arm strength too much at times, which he tries to use it to get him out of trouble, but actually gets him into trouble. So I love Mahomes, though. I love the Chiefs' offense. I did not think they would be this good because of their defense. I thought their defense would struggle a bit, and I didn't have them winning either of the first 2 weeks straight up. I had them winning with the spread. I thought that the offense was going to do enough to keep them in keep them in games, but without Eric Berry and without now Marcus Peters gone, I didn't see how they were going to stick with teams, especially the Chargers and the Steelers, who have Keenan Allen and Juju Smith-Schuster and Antonio Brown that they're going up against. So I didn't expect them to win the game, so that's been all the more surprising. But to see the chemistry that he has with Tyreek Hill, I think, is something special, because when you think of Tyreek Hill and you think of Tyreek Hill with Alex Smith, you think of deep down the field, deep ball passes. You think of long touchdowns, punt return touchdowns, which he's already got one of them this year. But you don't think of Tyreek Hill as a volume receiver. I don't think that Alex Smith ever viewed him as a volume receiver. I think he would rather try to get the ball to Kelsey or try to get the ball to Hunt, or try to get the ball to Chris Conley. So seeing Mahomes step up and into the quarterback position, I think that's why we're seeing a lot more volume out of Tyreek Hill. It's the same offense for the most part. Yes, they can do a little more because Pat Mahomes can do more than Alex Smith can, but the week 1 of the season, the 7 catches for 147 yards or 149 yards and a touchdown or 2 touchdowns. To see him catch 7 balls, that you wouldn't expect to see that from Tyreek Hill. He's not that kind of volume receiver. So I think Pat Mahomes kind of brings the best out of everybody on the offense as well. Now, week 1, we saw Travis Kelce not be too involved. I think he only received 3 targets. He had 6 targets, only had one catch, something around there. But, he wasn't very involved in week 1. Week 2 against Pittsburgh, we come out. He has catches 7 to 10 balls for 100 and some yards and 2 touchdowns. We also saw Kareem Hunt catch a touchdown this week. Granted, he has 1 catch on 2 targets in 2 weeks. So the production with Kareem Hunt isn't there that we'd like to see. But he's got a connection with Sammy Watkins. He's got a connection with Tyreek Hill. He's got a connection with Travis Kelce, and he's got somewhat of a connection with Chris Conley. So I think that he's really, obviously he's elevating this offense. That goes without saying, but the way that he's doing it, because he's not just elevating other people's play by his play, he's elevating other people's play, and not just because of the passes he can make, but because of his presence on the field now. And what I mean by that is, defenses are now going to start keying in and focus solely on Patrick Mahomes and stopping Patrick Mahomes. Exotic defenses, exotic blitzes, try to make him feel uncomfortable, try to get as much pressure on him as possible. But when he beats those things, when he makes a play with pressure like that, or when defenses have to key in on him, they're not forgetting about the other players, obviously, but those other players kind of get lost in the shuffle a bit, and the defensive focus isn't solely on that player. So that's what I mean by Pat Mahomes. He elevates everybody else's play without, not even just his play on the field, like during play on the field, but like when he's lining up and what defenses have to do to focus and key in on him. And you can't build a game. Defenses can't build a game plan to focus in and stop the quarterback, stop a receiver, and stop a tight end all at once. You're gonna have to focus on 1 or 2 of them. So Pat Mahomes elevates the rest of his players on the field because of that. So he really is something special. The arm talent is incredible. Like I said, he can make any throw at any time. He could throw it as far as necessary in a game. His teammates love him. You see him out there celebrating with everybody coming over, on the sidelines. They're coming over, they're celebrating with him, they're cheering with him, which you would expect, but they're going out of their way to come over to him. He's not going over to them. So it's like, to see that he has this chemistry with his teammates already, to see the success he's having from a football standpoint, it's incredible. And to be to set an NFL record with the most touchdown passes in 2 games in NFL history as a rookie, or just in general, 10 touchdowns in 2 games with an average of 5. He's thrown six against Pittsburgh this past weekend and 4 against the Chargers the week before. I mean, that's crazy. Now, I was very high on this Chiefs offense coming into this season. I thought they were going to be the number 1 offense in the NFL, but I'd be lying if I said they were going to be this potent. I did not think they would be this potent. I knew they would score a lot of points and be in a lot of games and whatnot, but I did not expect it to be at this level. So it's really incredible to see. We see so many people come into the league, especially with quarterbacks, and they struggle, or they get belittled, or they get talked bad about. it's nice to see one come in and truly dominate and kind of get his career off on the right foot. Because a lot of rookies in general, forget position, a lot of rookies get off on the wrong foot. And 2-3 years down the road, those people are gone. Which segues perfectly into the next thing I want to talk about, which is the Josh Gordon trade. I did see that, there were a lot of teams in on Josh Gordon trying to trade for him, which was a little surprising to me considering Cleveland said that they were going to drop him, release him after the weekend. I understand wanting to trade then for him to try to, you can get him then. You don't have to worry about waivers or him wanting to go here to try to sign with this team or this or that. So, like, I get trading for him, and the Patriots didn't give up much for him at all. And a player of that caliber, I mean, Josh Gordon, talent-wise, I don't know if there's another wide receiver that matches him talent-wise besides, the top 5 receivers in the NFL in Odell, AB, Michael Thomas, so on and so forth. He's that talented. In terms of what it brings to the Patriots, as we've seen, especially this past Sunday, their wide receivers are a weakness. I like Philip Dorsett quite a bit. I think he can develop into a solid number 3 receiver for him. I've never been a big Chris Hogan fan. Not that he's bad. I don't think he's bad. I just don't think he's that good. I don't think he offers too much in terms of a skill set. He's a decent route runner. He's tall and a solid red zone threat, but he doesn't create too much separation. You're relying on a lot of contested catches with him, which I'm not a big fan of because contested catches is very easy to tip that ball and it get picked off. So them bringing Josh Gordon in adds obviously security on Julian Edelman, who has an injury history and has a suspension history. It's insurance on Chris Hogan if Chris Hogan's another one who has injury history. So if something happens to him, they have Josh Gordon who could step in. And I think a change of scenery is what he needed from Cleveland. I think he had been there a little too long. He had been around losing since 2012 with them. At no point were they a playoff team in his career from 2012 to 2018. So when you're constantly around losing, the team doesn't improve. You have addiction issues, which cannot be taken lightly, and unless you've been in that situation, you can't really comment. And even then, every situation is different. So, like, people who judge him to say this or that, like, unless you understand it, just shut the fuck up. But so, like, I think it was a combination of everything that he needed to get out there. I really don't like, it really pisses me off that the Browns want to say, oh, well, we thought he was close to a relapse, or who the fuck are you to make that decision and say that? I understand if you wanted, if you thought that and that was something that was going through your head, why you wanted to get rid of him, that's okay. But you don't go and tell the world or the media or the rest of the fucking NFL that. That's a problem, and that's wrong. Players in that locker room, I would be pretty pissed off about that because that's a very big personal issue. Josh Gordon didn't mess up. They were just saying that they felt like it was going to happen. I'm sorry, but that's fucked up. I understand them wanting to cover their tracks. I understand them wanting to get some return on him at this point, and that's fine. But you don't go and say that to the media or say that to the public. That's something. If you said that to if you wanted to say to Robert Kraft, we're a little worried about, or Belichick, whoever, we're a little worried about. We think he might be on the verge of a relapse, and you want to say that to them, that's fine. But don't go and say it to the media and to the public. That's that. What was it? Woosah. But yeah. So I think a change of scenery is good for him and could be what he needs to get his career back on track from a football standpoint. And what better to do that with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. He'll also have Rob Gronkowski. So like there's people he mentors, so to speak. I don't know if Julian Edelman would be the best mentor for him, but Julian Edelman's had his share of off the field issues, and routinely comes back with the Patriots and doesn't get suspended for too long periods of time. So maybe he could take him under his wing. I don't know, but it keeps bringing me back. Now, I'll preface this by saying I'm not comparing Josh Gordon to Randy Moss. I'm not comparing Josh Gordon to Randy Moss. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the caliber, the style of receiver, a big receiver. Josh Gordon's 6'3", Randy Moss was 6'5", so 6'3", 6'5", a freak athlete. Both of them are freak athletes. Crazy speed, great hands. So that style of receiver, that caliber of receiver, that talented, it reminds me of Tom Brady when he had Randy Moss. Again, Josh Gordon is not Randy Moss. Josh Gordon is not the caliber of Randy Moss, but it's that style, that uber talented freak athlete at wide receiver. I'm very excited. I hate the Patriots. I'm a Jet fan. I do not like the Patriots. But I'm really excited to see Josh Gordon in a Patriots uniform. I'm excited to see what he can do. I'm excited to see him and Brady together, that connection. I think this offense... They just got overnight fixed their woes, because in 2 weeks, after week 4, Edelman's back. So they'll get Julian Edelman. They'll have their wide receivers will be Chris Hogan, Julian Edelman, Josh Gordon, and Philip Dorsett. And then in the backfield, they'll have James White, Rex Burkhead, and Sony Michel with Rob Gronkowski at tight end. Now, a lot of those players are young in there, too. So they have an infusion of vets and young players. So they're kind of setting themselves up for the future with these moves, too. And they don't lose much if Josh Gordon doesn't pan out. If he does, they got themselves a steal, and they got themselves I guess you could say, a somewhat of a franchise cornerstone, so to speak, because he's still, he is only 26, 27, so he is still young. He's got plenty of time left. Now, the off-the-field issues go back to his college days when, in 2010, at Baylor, he was suspended for weed. Did come back. Then in 2011, in July, he got suspended by Art Briles indefinitely for marijuana. Then he transferred in August of 2011 to Utah, where he sat out the season and declared for the supplemental draft too late. So he declared for the 2012 supplemental draft, where he was a second-round pick by the Browns. Went on to his rookie season, had a solid line. He had 50 catches for 805 yards and 5 touchdowns. And then in 2016, that was by far his best year. 87 catches, 87 catches, 1,600 yards. I think it was like 1,640 something yards, and then 9 touchdowns. It's a hell of a year. So the potential's there. He's shown the ability. He's shown that potential. He's shown that talent. He's shown the caliber of receiver he can be. And Belichick is known for getting the most out of his players. So if he can just get through the mental part and get through to Josh Gordon, I think the Patriots got themselves not only a steal, but a wide receiver of the future. So I'm very interested to see what happens when Edelman comes back and what this offense looks like with Josh Gordon. Definitely can't wait to use him in DraftKings now, but yeah, I'm definitely curious to see what happens. I think it's a great move for the Patriots. I think they upgrade without downgrading, and what I mean by that is they upgrade, but they didn't. What did they give up? A 5th round pick or a 6th round pick for him? That's nothing. If that doesn't pan out, well, no big deal. On to the next one. I mean, if he does pan out, you just got an all-star player, or all-star, a Pro Bowl player for a 6th round pick or a 5th round pick. Like, I think any team, you take that any day of the week. So I'm very excited to see what Josh Gordon's going to bring. But yeah, that about wraps it up. We got Anthony Joshua against Povetkin this weekend. As I mentioned, me and Nick are going to do a watch-along of Triple G and Canelo 2, just to kind of we'll give our opinions on it and whatnot, and tell each other what we're seeing and whatnot, to try to get on the same page, not try to make each other, convince each other, sway each other, nothing like that. We just want to see what the other person's seeing, because we both have it scored differently. So that'll be episode 2 of Nick's podcast, Center Ring, and that should be out Sunday or Monday of next week. I'll keep you posted on that. This week we have the NFL Week 3 DFS Fever podcast, which will be out, I'm not sure exactly when. That's either going to be out on Thursday or Friday of this week. Then Friday we have the Friday night NFL DFS, the Friday night NFL Pick'em podcast, where we go through each game, pick it against the spread, with the spread, straight up, against the spread, straight up, in the over-under. And as I had mentioned in the end of that video, I'm going to start using more of the analytics and more of the, more numbers and whatnot. I like to wait until about week 4 or 5 of the NFL season before I start to try to use numbers and statistics to try to figure things out about teams. I just need a bigger sample size, and the way teams change players over the course of the offseason, one team's going to look entirely different than it did the year before. So how am I going to use the statistics on a team from the last 2 years when the players are entirely different? So we'll start getting into a little more with that in terms of the Pick'em podcast and the DFS podcast. Keep an eye out for the college football DFS rankings, the NFL DFS rankings, and Center Ring podcast, the podcast, Friday night NFL Pick'em podcast, and the NFL DFS Fever podcast. But thanks for joining me. You can find me on Twitter at Millsy021. You can find the Nosebleed section on Twitter at TNBS021. You can head over to www.thenosebleedsect.com and check out all our great content. The Sam Darnold Week 2 rookie performance report is out now, where I follow him from week to week and give him a grade, greatest performance, talk about his performance a bit, break it down. And the purpose of that piece is to kind of show the up and downs of an NFL rookie, and what they have to go through week to week, and how it's not all peaches and cream and it's not all rosy being an NFL player, especially a rookie. So you can go and check that out. And other than that, I'll see you guys next week for episode 5. I've been your host, Tommy, aka Millsy, and thanks for joining. Peace.